As a matter of fact, yesterday I was so stopped up. I was almost making myself sick, choking and gagging on all the phlegm and nastiness.
We don't need to go into that level of
That's
detail.
fair.
Jeebus.
That's fair, but it was awful. And I just felt like hammered dog shit all day yesterday.
All right, well, let's see if we can find a way to make you feel better. Hello, everybody. It is Shiftless. Back in the morning, but unfortunately, we have lost DJ Khaled.
Wah.
For the time being.
Yeah,
We're gonna
temporary.
We're gonna figure something out.
We are gonna figure something
Them
out.
damn corporate lackeys.
Man.
Don't let the man tell you what to do.
Fight the power.
Fight the power. Cook for a living. Ride bikes for a living. Don't do the corporate gig.
Man.
But
Yeah.
it is morning.
It is morning.
And then we are at Casa Verde.
And it's humid, overcast, but all in all, feels pretty good.
Pretty pleasant.
Pretty pleasant.
Pretty pleasant.
Everything's popping green.
And hey, I think our woodpecker is being a good audience member at the moment.
Oh, Woody. Yeah, he was very active. He or she, I don't pretend to know, was extremely active yesterday. I hung some new bird feeders.
Okay.
3 new bird feeders and a hummingbird feeder, which I guess is a bird feeder as well. I got these beautiful glass-blown hummingbird feeders. I bought 2 of them.
Okay.
I was super excited to get home and hang them up.
Yeah.
Open the truck door.
Oh, no.
Motherfucker falls right out.
No.
Just fell out. I was
No.
I was so mad. So I only hung one. How do you get birds to come to your bird feeder? They've been out hanging for 2 days now, and the birds don't know they're here. See, this would have been a great Caleb question. He's the nature boy.
Well, I think it's a little early for hummingbirds.
That's fair. That's not true. I saw one a couple of weeks ago at my friend had a hummingbird feeder at her house, and there was a hummingbird there.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you don't have an existing population, they don't just pop in unannounced,
Yeah,
sort
that's
of
fair.
speaking. So
That's fair.
it takes some time for birds to figure out that a certain spot is a good feeding location to begin with.
Yeah.
And then after that, you might get some transients that come in and, well, we'll go there for a meal, but we're going to go back to our joint. Give it a couple generations, and you've got a population.
It's just
somewhat
strange
near you.
that before I put bird feeders up, there was always like hundreds of birds in my yard. And now that I have bird feeders, ironically, there's no birds.
Well, you have that woodpecker. Maybe now you're attracting a salty crowd that chases off the good ones.
Oh, I don't know. It's been littered with cardinals and blue jays and finches and American yellow throats, and we have all kinds of birds here.
I am no ornithologist, but I'm a fan of birds. But it's like, that's a pretty bird.
Yeah. I'm a bird of prey fan. I like hawks and eagles and such. So
We had some, meant to look it up. I'll have to do that later. We had some blackbirds hanging out at our campsite down in Big Bend this weekend. They were being generally referred to as crows, but I'm pretty sure they're not crows proper. But I've never understood that crow, raven, blackbird family. I get very confused. I know there's differences, but I don't know what they are.
So it's one of the things that I thought was goofy, and I've grown to adore, is when we moved into this house, they only left a couple of things in this house. And one of them, well, 2 of them, were the National Audubon Society Birdwatchers Guide. They left 2 different versions of it, and a pair of binoculars.
Sounds like they were birders, and they wanted to influence you to become a birder.
And so at first I was like, well, this is silly. And now I'm like enthralled with it, because there's so many birds that come through our backyard. But that has nothing to do with bikes.
Has not a damn thing to do with bicycles.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless you have something queued up, I'm gonna throw something in.
Go for it.
Real quick. So I think it's patently obvious now that we were a little bit premature with our Kona Ouroboros conversation last week.
Yeah, they're openly looking to sell Kona. I was just looking at that. Kent Outdoors looking for buyer for Kona bikes.
And this is where I was off base. I had remembered that Kent had gotten involved with Kona at some point in the process. So I knew the ownership was different for Kona. I just assumed it was Kent Bicycles, but it's not. It's Kent Outdoors,
yeah.
which is a totally different company that had nothing to do with bicycles. They're actually water sports stuff.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them.
They do the O'Brien water skis and wakeboards and stuff like that. And I think they do one of the, what is it, the jet chair or what? You've seen that other funky stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
Yeah,
Kona releases the Ouroboros last week, which has
been getting really good reviews.
It seems like a pretty solid adventure bike.
Yeah.
I everything I've seen on it so far, a lot of people touch on the same stuff we did. It's like, I get it. You're always straddling that line between a mountain bike and a gravel bike.
Yeah.
And it seems to be one of those bikes. It's like, well, maybe it's off, but maybe it's not. And it looks like it's going to take some saddle time for people to really evaluate it.
Well,
But they were supposed to be at Sea Otter. They had a tent set up at Sea Otter. Brand new product out that is literally the talk of the town.
And they just pack up
and
shop.
they pack up shit and leave for a company meeting and company announcements. And Kent announces they're going to try to sell Kona now.
And they just bought it in 2022.
But right in the middle of that COVID surge.
What was COVID? I forget. But it said Friday, after a strategic review, it has decided to sell the bike brand. So, sounds very emotionless.
A lot of stuff is going on, and we've talked about it with the Walton family trust and their investments and the other companies that are out there that are buying brands and putting them under their umbrellas. And it's evidently, basically, we're kind of in a new corporate structure of private equity now that works different than what people are used to, and it allows these companies a lot of flexibility to do whatever they want, but still bring in investors and partners. So it looks like we're in for an interesting run for business and the economy in general, that just so happens to, I think, coincide with a massive downturn in the cycling industry that makes these brands and these names a good purchase for bottom feeder sort of things, but maybe not a long-term viable investment for folks that need to completely be reliant on cash flow. The bicycle industry evidently is not a good cash flow industry right now.
You don't say.
It will be interesting to see what comes of the Ouroboros. My guess is that was basically a bike that was developed prior to the Kent acquisition. So basically everything was already done.
Kent acquired them in 2022.
That's what I'm saying. It's that long of a process for a new bike to come out.
Yeah.
So my guess is all of the development and design and everything was done prior to that acquisition. What happened after the acquisition was probably just setting up the purchasing and tooling that might have been required, that might have been slightly different than off the shelf from one of the bike manufacturers.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of the bike itself, they relied heavily on the geometry of the steel RLT. Or is it RLT? I think it's RLT.
RLT's a 9er.
Yeah, something like that. There's a Kona steel Similar platform type bike.
Hmm.
LHT? No, that's
My thing is, who's going to jump on buying that bike now that Kona's up in the air?
I was
Would
thinking.
that prevent you from buying that bike?
Well, as a consumer at the moment, yes, but that's the point. Kent's not worried about that right now, and whoever
No. I'm saying it
as a consumer, yes,
would stop you from purchasing
Sure.
that bike knowing that they're in turmoil.
sure, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, to some extent, but
Yeah.
that's why Kona did that. That's why Kona did that buy one get one
Yeah.
back in December. They already knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Upper management did anyway.
Well, we were talking about that last night, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's as long. I mean, as much as it sounds like such a drastic thing to do, it's pretty intelligent because. And stick with me for just a second. Instead of having the prices on their bikes and hoping to sell twice as much product, they didn't reduce their price at all, and theoretically they're moving twice as much product.
Right.
So it's I don't know how they do it from a write-off or whatever, however they balance their books, but it's pretty smart when you're trying to liquidate inventory and not come off your prices, even though technically you are coming off your price.
I mean, you're very obviously
Yeah.
coming off your price, but yeah, I think the focus was on moving inventory at that
Yeah.
point. It's like, let's get some cash to cover our investment.
Her bleeding wounds.
And I mean, the reality is, more than likely, from a financial aspect, more than likely somebody like Kent could probably weather the storm itself. But it is gonna affect the quarter over quarter numbers, which
Yeah.
all of these, even the private equity firms and the private companies, they're investors, even though it's not public knowledge like it is in a publicly traded company. The investors are still looking at things quarter to quarter.
Yeah.
Nobody looks long term any longer. That's just not the way it works.
I didn't realize they had so many freaking bikes.
And some will say that's part of Kona's problem. Kona's always been a cool side brand.
Yeah. 4 pages of bikes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of some of the models, but not all of them. Not even close to all of them.
I think it's fair to say that their catalog is probably a little too broad.
Yeah.
They probably need to find a niche or two to focus on.
Yeah.
And back in the day, they kind of did. They were, on the mountain bike side, they were kind of oriented towards the big hit,
Yeah.
heavy duty bikes, but at a lower price point.
Yeah.
And they did that well. They were good at the low end adventure touring bikes, but I think they did that. I think they had a good product, but it never clicked with the audience so much. What will be interesting is to see where the brand goes from here. And I was trying to think about it last night. My first thought is there's probably somebody like, I can't think of a brand off the top of my head that slides in ideally right now, but a brand that might be gravel centric but doesn't have mountain bikes at the moment that would like to throw mountain bikes into the mix, or maybe even a road bike maker, but I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that's a good fit. And then on top of that, are we at the point where any company in the bicycle industry is in a position
For acquisition.
to bring on anyone else's?
I mean, look at what Trek's doing. Trek is one of the biggest, bike brands out there, and they just eliminated, what did we say, 40% of their SKUs?
40% of their SKUs is what's the plan.
Which was ultimately just the demise of Bontrager, right?
That's my assumption. It's obviously a big part of it, but I don't know what percentage that does make up. And Rich and I were talking about that over the weekend. What does that mean for Trek? Does that mean, my guess is Trek's going to focus on bikes, and they're going to turn their stores into more of a traditional bike shop in that we have Trek bikes, but if you want these accessories from other companies, that's fine. We're going to start stocking other companies.
Oh, you think so?
I think so.
Huh.
That's a lot less.
See, I've and I could be completely wrong about this, and I probably am, because once again, I'm not an expert. I thought that as a bicycle brand manufacturer, that all those little tidbits, bottle cages, water bottles, seat bags, and just accessories, grips, and stuff like that, is where you made all your money.
It is where you make all your money reselling it. Where you don't have to do the tooling, you don't have to do the manufacturing, you don't have to do the design.
I see what you're saying.
You don't have to hire all these people to do all those tasks.
Yeah. But a company like Trek, don't you think they're just outsourcing all that shit anyways?
I mean, and
just rebranding somebody else's product?
I don't. I could be mistaken in that. But I think that might be part of where I haven't seen anything that's Bontrager labeled that looks just like somebody else's stuff. It's just with a different label. I think they've been doing all their own stuff and keeping it proprietary.
I need to go to a Trek store, like in the current times, and then revisit one in a year or so.
Might be interesting.
I don't think I've been to a Trek branded store and really like taken note. The only one I know of is the one over. And
that brings up a good point.
North Shore.
That brings up a good point, because all of my assumptions are definitely based on my perceptions of Trek accessories and Bontrager accessories from several years ago, because I haven't visited a store in a while myself. So back the last time I was in a Trek store, that was my impression, was all of these Bontrager, whatever it is, items were very much Trek exclusive. None of them looked like anything else I'd seen anywhere else. I mean, obviously same functionality and everything, but it wasn't like it's, this battery charger that on this one it says Z gear, but on something else it says A gear.
Yeah. That makes sense.
This is going to sound like a doom and gloom episode now, but I mean, I think it really is top of the news, and definitely was the talk of Sea Otter this past weekend, which I'm going to touch on something there momentarily too. Don't let me forget.
Don't forget.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that tremendously. Also, Stages Cycling announced that news was released that they laid off all of their employees.
I don't see that in any of the news. I'm looking at GCN. I'm looking at MTBR. Obviously, it wouldn't be on MTBR.
Escape Collective had a story about it yesterday. So
really?
Escape did go into it a little bit. So I'm on a Stages Facebook group because I have the Stages SB20. That's my smart bike. That's my indoor bike.
Okay.
Since I bought that. I basically bought that in January of 2023. They had just this stupid deal on what at the time was understood to be a pretty good smart bike, and it has been a pretty good one to me. It was like $1,500 for the bike, and that included a year of Zwift. So I mean that was a fantastic deal.
Yeah.
Do what you need to. Look at the light. Oh, that's right. That's right. Brad has a pulled muscle from over sneezing.
I'm old. I did have a good ride last night, though.
Well, maybe did you pull your muscle before or after the ride?
Oh, it's been like that for like 5 days.
Oh, okay.
I think I slept on it wrong or something. It is awful. It's right by my scapula. And it is just feels like a knife. Anyways, I'm just a big fucking baby. Stupid cuck. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I don't know. I've lost track. It's all right.
You said you wanted to say something about Sea Otter.
Okay.
You said don't let you forget.
Okay.
This is me not letting you forget.
Watched a very, very interesting video last night. So I guess last couple years, Lifetime, they had their series that came out after the season called Call of a Lifetime or whatever.
Okay.
Is that correct? I think that's the video series they've done on
Once again, this would be a good Caleb question.
Okay, I thought
He keeps track of all that stuff.
I understand. I thought you had comments about those videos too. I had tried to watch a couple of them in the last couple of years, and I wasn't getting into them. What Lifetime has done this year, it looks like, it's not live coverage by any stretch of the imagination, but the Sea Otter race was just this past weekend.
Yeah, and they've already released a video.
Which was excellent.
I haven't watched it yet.
It was it was
I haven't made time to watch
tremendous
it.
coverage of the event. Definitely not perfect, but definitely very high level production quality, very well done, extremely timely. And for me, that made a huge difference. It was difficult for me to get into videos about Unbound Gravel of 2023 in January of this year, because I'd already heard all the stories and discussion about everything. We've even talked about it on our own show and stuff. It's like, okay. I mean, I get it that people that are into personalities of the racers and the events themselves, I get that. Those things have never really been a big priority of mine. I mean, I appreciate what those racers do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That the physical capability to pull off what they do is amazing. But I'm not following all their Instagrams and seeing what they're eating for breakfast and what they name their dog and everything like that. The personality aspect of it has never been a big focus of mine, and the generalities of an event overview don't do a whole lot. But where this one made a difference, and this could be a Sea Otter thing too. It could be a Laguna Seca thing. The coverage of the course itself, it's like, that's a very cool looking course for an event like that. So that was a very impressive show, and I know this doesn't come from me very often, but kudos to Lifetime. That was pretty impressive. You should check it out.
I will. Caleb sent the link to me, and I just need to pull it up. I need to watch it. Like I said, I haven't made time to watch it. But I do intend to watch it.
Sounds like you need to take some Claritin and lay down and watch it.
No rest for the wicked. We had TMBG last night because all the trails are closed. Did our normal hot lap, come back, regroup. Had a good group. We had, I think, 7 people. Actually picked up a guy on the way into Denton.
Y'all are getting good at picking up these strays.
Man, we attract the men's. We were going down All Red. Sorry, there's too much to navigate here. We were going down All Red, headed towards Gravel Bomb, and there's a guy on a gravel bike headed our way, and we were kind of strung out at that point, kind of long. We weren't all grouped together, and I guess everybody was friendly to him, and so he turned around, rode up next to me, and started talking to me. I'm trying to remember his name now. Trey Rosell.
Trey Rosell, yeah.
Rosell,
Yeah. Oh, man. Did y'all talk food?
No.
He's a chef.
Oh, is he?
Yep.
Oh. Well, that was a missed opportunity.
It sure was. Actually, Trey, hey, Trey, are you listening, man? he would be a good interesting fellow to speak with.
Yeah, he's...
Was he in A form?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
He was riding with us.
He's fairly strong.
Yeah.
Or has been in the past.
Yeah, he seemed like he was, I don't know how to compare it to anything else because I've never seen him before. But
he wasn't falling off the back or anything.
No, that was me. That was me. But he was also on a top stone,
Sounds right. Yeah.
And I was on my Fargo, so. So he rode all the way into Denton with us, went to East Side, and had one beer with us, and then he left. So it was cool. It was nice meeting him. I was familiar with the name. I'd never met him. But he said that he's looking for people to ride with. And I'm like, well,
interesting.
I can add you to our group.
Interesting.
So
he's a personality.
Yeah.
He's a personality. Yeah. He's into cooking. He's into cars.
Yeah.
He's into anti-establishment, I think it's fair to say.
He said he worked for the government.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's the man that bitches about the man. Y'all could definitely have some interesting food talk. I guarantee you that.
That was a missed opportunity.
He's a bean snob.
Oh, okay. I don't talk about myself, like that.
I thought everybody knew Chef Brad was Chef Brad.
I'm not a self-promoter. That's part of my problem,
There's nothing wrong with flying under the radar.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I like to be.
I'm very adept at that.
And then Devin and Court happened to show up at Eastside, and we were, I don't know, I think we were on our last beer, so they hung out for a little bit, and then I said, hey, bring it to the pool. So we got back here and got in the pool. They showed up, and we all hung out last night. Probably too late.
It sounds like it was too late.
I think I didn't go to bed till after midnight.
Yeah, you're 80% allergies and 20% too late.
It's maybe, but I had a good ride. I rode, I got 35 miles last night. Not bad.
And which bike were you on?
I rode the Willits for the first loop because that's the
spicy one.
The spicy one, and then I grabbed the Fargo to roll into town. We took Gravel Bomb, Corbin. They're doing construction on the other side.
Yeah, they have been for quite a while.
Yeah, I don't know why they're going through all that effort to do all that. If you'd seen what they're doing, it doesn't make any sense. The bar ditches on both sides on the climb on that side of 35?
Yeah.
They're extending that concrete gutter on the sides of the road. Like, well, I don't know what they're doing that for. And they repaved a lot of that stuff down below at the base. But I thought they were doing all that just so they could get equipment in and out of there for that pipeline. But that pipeline's been long done.
My guess is they're probably on the very front end of redoing all that interchange. And it's going to be what the 35 becomes. Like when you go up towards Gainesville, and everything that's been redone between Gainesville and Valley View. I mean, yeah, it's not nearly as busy through Gainesville as it is down at that Denton interchange. So if they think everything up there needs to be redone, that I guarantee you there's about to be. Trey would actually be a good source for information on this.
Well, then also at the top of that hill, once you get out of the gate, I saw a couple of signs that said "Notice for Public Hearing."
My guess is there's going to be a major roadway going through there as well.
I don't know if that works out very well.
When they start moving everything around, they do change the landscape. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
It's not all doom and gloom in the bicycle world, is it?
I mean, I still have fun riding bikes.
I love riding my bike. Shannon brought 3 bikes in town. He brought his e-bike, of course. I threw a leg over it. That thing's cushy.
Okay.
I forgot what it is. An Orbea.
It's Orbea. Is it the Rise or is it something different?
I don't know.
It's an Orbea.
It's an Orbea. It's sexy. You need to see it before you leave. The paint on this thing is impressive. I've never been impressed with Orbea's color schemes, paint schemes, graphics, nothing.
Okay.
This one is black and like copper, and it has almost like a copper flake in the black. It's pretty freaking sexy.
Okay.
They've always been real vanilla to me.
Well, they made a big deal for a while about showing off their carbon weave for when they first started throwing out their carbon road and cross bikes and so forth. I think they did like a very minimal paint and just
cleared it
for a while, and I think they got out of the habit of being a snazzy paint job. So
when I think of Orbea, I think of black and white bikes, and then
understood.
And then they did. I can't remember what bike it was, but they had some awful orange for a while.
Okay.
It was like a brownish orange. But this one's super sexy. He brought his single speed, which unfortunately it looks like I don't know if there's going to be any single speaking going on for a while. Did you see the forecast for the next like 7 days?
Yeah, don't. Yeah,
I know. I know.
yeah.
It's disappointing.
That's why I was trying to shuffle our maybe meeting Friday or Monday, because it's like this might today, maybe tomorrow, might be my only windows to potentially verify the hell the North Texas routes ahead of time.
It doesn't look very promising.
No, it does not.
I was
It
in
does not.
Forestburg this past weekend working, and was it Saturday?
Chance that it rained a good bit.
It rained. We had over 2 inches of rain in 24 hours where I was.
Okay.
I mean, it was just a freaking turd floater the
Okay.
whole day. I think that was Saturday. Yes, it was.
So that was rain. So that much rain in Forestburg goes all down Denton Creek and into Grapevine Lake.
Mm-hmm.
What are the Grapevine Lake levels?
I don't know, but we got a good amount of rain here too. My weather app acted like we didn't get near as much as we did, so I don't know how accurate it actually is.
What weather app are you using these days?
Wonderground, Weather Underground.
Weather Underground.
I like it for no more than I need the weather for it. It works pretty well.
I broke down a couple weeks ago and did the premium subscription to Windy,
Yeah,
and
I figured that was imminent.
I mean, I've been literally putting it off a week at a time for probably over a year now, and finally got.
Does your phone have dual headphone jacks?
No,
What is that?
I don't know. Maybe it does. I think one's the microphone. Yeah, that's. I don't even know why that one's there.
Freaking androids
Well,
taking over the world.
freaking
One cuck at a time.
cheap cases is what.
So
Interesting.
after all our Made in USA bike speak,
Yeah, yeah.
the first part of my bike I ordered is coming on a slow boat from China.
Okay. Bullshit. No, don't do this to me.
It'll be here in June. I ordered a pair of rims off of eBay, Nexty hoops, carbon hoops. You can't argue with $229 for a pair of rims with free shipping.
All right.
For a pair of rims.
Understood.
And that's what I have on all my
okay.
bikes.
So, I'm sorry. Explain this to me.
Like your 5 or like your Kevin?
Well, first off, these are from Nexty on eBay, or it's something on eBay that says they're. Walk me through this.
So Nexty they're really smart. They're allegedly Nexty produces carbon hoops for other people that put their name on them.
Okay.
So they have an online store and they have a sale rack and everything else, but they also have stuff for sale on eBay.
Right.
In eBay, you can find screaming prices occasionally. And so I just happened to log on yesterday. Shannon goes, "Have you looked on eBay?" And I'm like, "No, actually I haven't." So I logged into eBay, which I never spend any time on eBay, and looked at their selection, and they had the rims that I wanted for $225, $229 for a pair.
Okay, and I'm sorry, this was Nexty that had it listed.
Yeah.
Nexty.
Yeah.
What's their normal price for those rims?
I don't know. Let me pull them up. Their website is
I guess
gotten a lot better.
I guess I'm confused. Why would Nexty themselves undercut themselves on eBay like that?
I don't know.
That doesn't make sense.
I didn't.
Okay.
Let me see. Symmetric. Let me see what these are. How much they are. These are the premiums. Yeah, I figured that. They're about $200 a hoop.
Okay, so roughly half-ish price.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And their wheels are hard to beat.
No, I don't dispute that, but you were just so
I know.
adamant.
I know.
You were so adamant.
I know, but at the same time, go with what you know. I have those hoops on 3 other bikes.
I get that. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. All right. So now
Now everything else is going to be made in USA.
You got to do those Project 321 hubs, man.
They're not made in the USA.
They're closer to made in the USA than Nexty rims are.
That's true, but I'm probably going to go White Industries.
All right.
White Industries or I-9.
You're an old man. You can't stand change.
Oh, but I also want to support people that I appreciate.
Okay.
White Industries has been like an unsung hero in the cycling industry since as long as I've been in it.
Okay.
You know, I've had, I can't tell you how many pairs of White Industries cranks and bottom brackets and chain rings and various components I've had of theirs. I've had hubs of theirs for years and they're long gone now. And I'll probably end up saving up my shekels and getting some Paul clampers.
I'm sure you will.
Those are my favorite brakes, you know? So,
Understood.
we'll see. I'm just going to slowly...
But you say these things are your favorites without having spent much time with alternates.
Oh, I've played in many other sandboxes.
Okay.
I've done Shimano rim brakes, hydraulic brakes, cantilevers. I've done SRAM, cantilevers, done SRAM hydraulic disc brakes. I've done SRAM mechanical disc brakes. I've done, what else have I done? Oh, Formula hydraulic disc brakes. I've had a little bit of everything.
No, I understand over the years you have,
Mm-hmm.
but what might be we'll just use one of the brands you use there.
Mm-hmm.
If the last time you tried a Formula brake for any extended period of time was 2012, there's a high likelihood that things have changed at Formula since then.
That's fair. And they make badass brakes, don't get me wrong. But my mentality's also changed. Much like I don't, well, I'm about to just talk out of both sides of my mouth. Much like I have kind of shunned electronic shifting in the past, I've kind of gotten away from the idea of hydraulic disc brakes as well. And it's just a curmudgeon-y thing, you know?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. You're getting more old man every day.
I fuck it. I'm going to lean into it.
Go for it. That would be your best route at this point.
Yeah. I love the simplicity, the adjustability of cable actuated disc brakes. And in my very amateur opinion, I think that the Paul clampers literally can't be beat. They're just incredible freaking brakes.
Okay.
And I think the people that know are head over heels with them, and the people that don't know just don't understand. So, and I'm not casting shade at anybody. I'm just saying.
Sounds like you are. Sounds like you're being rather judgmental and high on the.
No, I'm just saying.
High on your horse there.
I'm just saying, like, if you've never had so and so's pizza, you don't know how good it is. You know.
Understood.
And there's obviously, like you're alluding to, I'm sure there's brakes out there that I'm unaware of that are just as good, if not better. But
I'm not sure of that.
I'm going to vote with my dollars, and my dollars are going to go to Paul.
Everybody should vote with their dollars the way that they want to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
I'll probably do Paul Clamper brakes. Like I said, my hoops won't even be here till June. Literally the middle of June.
All right. So is it fair to say that that's a justification for the higher price on the regular website? If you order today from the regular website, are you going to have to wait till June to get them? Or
they'll be here in a week or so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So they're cutting out the distribution middlemen.
I think they are the middleman.
Well, but it's still the warehousing and transportation and the overhead involved with that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So there is a cost savings of some sort to them.
Yeah.
And again, these days in the cycling industry, it's all about cash flow at the moment. It's like We just got to keep cash coming in the door so we can cover payroll and rent,
Yeah.
sort of thing, until this turns around. I'm still of the opinion that I think we're at the bottom pricing wise for most of this stuff. We're not at the bottom for all this corporate stuff to shake out. Yeah.
Is anything that's going to happen in November with the election going to affect the bicycling industry?
Doubtful. Generally speaking, the cycling industry is pretty much international.
Yeah.
I don't think that weighs heavily on it much, if at all.
Okay.
I think it is just the state of the industry itself.
Yeah.
Now, I'm convinced that at the moment we have all these little pieces that are falling out, and make no mistake, Kona's a small company in this realm. They're bigger than most of the stuff we've seen shake out so far, but they're still compared to Cannondale, Trek, and Giant, and all of those. Kona's still a pretty small company. I have an expectation we're gonna have a big shoe drop somewhere in the process, where a Giant, a Trek, a Specialized, or somebody like that. It's more than just an announcement of 40% reduction in SKUs, sort of thing. That's a guess on my part. Well, we'll see, and that'll be. And they're all just doing everything they can to get by at the moment, sort of thing. And whoever overcommitted too much in the past couple years is the one that's not going to be able to come out of this, sort of thing. But it doesn't mean all of the others are going to just be picking at their bones, because I don't think anybody's that's truly in the cycling industry right now is in a position to make big financial moves. No. And acquisitions by any stretch.
No, and that's the interesting thing. Like you were mentioning earlier about Kona, like, you know, Kent's putting it up for sale, but I mean, I think it's more likely that another sporting good brand would pick them up, not a cycling specific brand. Like I could see like Dick's Sporting Goods buying them, you know, or something like that.
Well, but I mean, Dick's and REI and all those are having their issues too.
Yeah.
Everything outdoors related is having issues.
Yeah, I mean, I was just throwing out an example because I don't see anybody in the cycling industry acquiring another brand to put under their umbrella.
I don't at this point. I don't think it's acquiring. I don't think it's acquiring the brand per se. I think it's acquiring IP, intellectual property. Mm-hmm. And not for the next year or two. It's like we're buying this stuff now because we're buying it at the bottom of the market for something that we can turn around 5 or 10 years from now, sort of thing. Somebody's going to take that sort of position. For Kent to put Kona out there right now,
and so publicly.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to step in at this time and give them top dollar for? Nobody is. They're going to go, oh, this is a fire sale. This is distressed.
Yeah.
Oh, you want
X dollars.
You want 50 green bucks.
Yeah.
I'll give you 2 green bucks.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Maybe we should pull our money together and just buy it.
I thought about that. I thought about that. And
we just run it into the ground.
All the bikes would all just have Rasta paint jobs.
No, but Kevin, this one's different. It's black green. Oh shit!
But I mean, we never finish the stages talking, and we don't have to. But the one thing about that was, after I bought that indoor bike, I started reading the Facebook group, and I was starting to see some negative stuff from the customer service aspect of things, where people weren't able to get a hold of customer service, or which is concerning. Even though you get a $4,000 bike for $1,500, it's still concerning, right?
Yeah.
And then there, about this time last year, it was announced that Giant was going to be giving stages a $20 million cash infusion.
Holy shit.
So Giant was interested in partnering with Stages.
How much products does Stages actually have?
So they're huge in the indoor cycling market. So at like health clubs and gyms and stuff like that, a lot of those indoor bikes are the Stages bikes with the Stages power meters, and they are big on the crank-based power meter. They were basically the ones that innovated that. But again, we're still talking very, very niche markets. So, was Stages Team Quickstep? Anyway, Stages were the ones that basically truly popularized power meters because it was a lower cost way to do it and an easier way to do it. But they also got caught in the trap of they were basically Shimano exclusive. Their stuff only worked on Shimano cranks.
They have their own cycling computer.
Not a very good one from my understanding.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't even know that existed. Looks like they have a smart bike, and they have like every like Shimano crank arm you can think of.
Yeah. So and they were extremely Shimano dependent.
Yeah.
I mean, exclusively Shimano dependent because SRAM has Quark, so they're not going to do anybody else's power meter for anything like that.
Yeah. And they have commercial indoor bikes.
And it's rumored that anywhere from 50 to 80% of their business was based around that.
Around the indoor bikes?
Yes.
Yeah, it says right here that they're in 4,000 gyms.
Yeah, they're big. They're big on that, which
worldwide.
They got hammered.
27,000 coaches, instructors, and trainers.
Prior to that C word that we evidently can't say anymore, that was working great for them. But when COVID hit, then all those gyms shut down.
Uh-huh.
When supply chains hit, Shimano was the big one about. Shimano's the one that's going to ride all this out because they had their very specific growth model that we don't care what the numbers say, we don't grow more than 8% a year or whatever the number was.
You know what's interesting? Caleb and I were talking about this. He said the reason Shimano is going to come out smelling better at this whole situation is because unlike SRAM produces all their product in multiple factories across nations, mostly in Asian countries. Whereas Shimano, all of their stuff comes out of one factory in Malaysia. And that factory shut down, whether it was COVID related or it was just business smart. They shut all production down, so they didn't stack out a ton of parts like SRAM.
Right.
I mean, and he even like made the statement like, go to Gabe's, there's SRAM boxes everywhere. He said the only stuff that comes in that Shimano has already sold or spoken for, So I think, they're keeping their demand pretty high, whereas SRAM, you can just get anything you want pretty much.
Fiscally, fiduciarily, financially, however you want to describe it, Shimano is basically the only company in the cycling industry that positioned itself to weather all of this. But their sales are still down. Their year-over-year sales are still down 20%.
Yeah, I saw that on one of my news deals I was looking at. They said that Shimano's sales was down 10% over last year or something like that.
But they're also not sitting on $1 million a day in warehousing costs like some companies are.
True.
Sort of thing. So I think it's for Shimano, it is all going to work out. But going back to that Stages story, about this time last year, it was under everybody that was a Stages fan, and people, people were talking about being concerned about their indoor bikes and so forth, and follow up, and oh no, Giant's taking them over. It's just a transition period. Then Giant pulled out. They didn't give them that $20 million cash infusion. So from that point on, I knew the clock was ticking basically for the past 12 months in my head that there's no way Stages can survive this. And so, from that point, it still took 12 months for Stages to get to where it is now. Now, my expectation, quite frankly, is that Giant themselves are going to still end up acquiring stages for penny. You know, I think they said, hey, we'll give you $20 million, but we got to look at your books first, see how your business model, and they got all that inside peek at it, and they got, we can't get this $20 million back, but they also can't survive if they don't get our $20 million. We're going to withdraw that offer, and then when they go belly up, we'll just pick them up for $2 million or whatever at that point. But then it's questionable if Giant is even positioned to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like going back to what I was saying, there are rumblings that somebody huge in the industry
is getting ready to fold up shop.
Yeah. Is it Giant? Is it Trek? Is it Specialized? Is it something else that, you know, and is it, or is that just bullshit? Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. We'll see how that comes about.
When's it supposed to start raining? It certainly seems like it's getting darker.
Tomorrow night, I believe. But along those lines, so Grapevine Lake is now at 537.
Which flood stage is what? 550?
542.
Oh, okay.
North Shore starts going under. 537, Nob Hill starts going under.
Oh, shit. And you said we were where?
537.
Oh, shit. I don't think Nob Hill's going to be open for a while. We got hammered with rain.
Yeah, well, and if it's already underwater now and more rain's coming. So, yeah, if North Shore gets to 542, then the low spots start going under there. Maybe 540, actually. It's 540 now because some of the new stuff they added is a touch lower.
What was it, 2015 when the last time it flooded?
Was it 15 or 17? So I think it did both. I think 15 was a huge flood and 17 was a big flood, if I remember right.
Do you remember that, whatever year it was, when you would drive down 377 and you would be south of...
It would just be a lake.
Yeah. It was insane. Insane.
But, I mean, so that was when I first started getting into local mountain biking. Well, not the very first, but early in the process. I think it was 2007. That sounds right. 2006, 2007 was my first experience with the flooding. And realistically, that's probably when I discovered gravel, too, now that I think about it. So that was the first time the lake started going under, in my experience, because I didn't start riding till like 2004, 2005. But yeah.
Why is this news?
What's that?
It says, new patent suggests Shimano is designing a fully wireless group set. And then it says, latest patents submitted by the Japanese brand show a battery housed within a rear derailleur. Why is that news? Aren't they already wireless? Shimano's electronic group sets could receive a makeover in the future to go fully wireless, judging by two patents recently published by the Japanese brand. The patents, first spotted by Road CC, appear to show a different design to what the brand currently uses, with separate batteries located in each of the derailleurs. Up until recently, Shimano's electronic group sets were still wired. I did not know that. I thought they were wireless.
I think they're battery wired, but I'm not. I don't know.
But that has changed on the latest Dura-Ace, Ultegra, and 105 Di2 group sets, hydraulic disc brake models. These were converted to semi-wireless setups, whereby they communicate wirelessly to the shifters, but are connected to a centrally housed battery by wires. Yeah. That is true. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hence the semi-wireless name.
Yes.
Huh. All right. These are far from the first patents Shimano has submitted on the subject but is the latest to indicate that it will soon join its main rivals, SRAM and Campy, by adopting the fully wireless design. Okay. Well, it's just a matter of time, right?
Maybe. I mean, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but like you're talking about SRAM having inventory up to the rafters at most of the bike shops that are out there.
I mean, that's just anecdotal.
I understand, and that's what I'm saying.
I don't know what's going on at shops across the nation.
No, understood. But
But I'm inclined to think that.
Let's say that is the case.
Yeah.
Let's say maybe people are thinking it's a giant or a Trek or a Specialized that is the big fish that's about to collapse. What if it's SRAM? I'm
I don't
not
see
saying
SRAM going away.
I'm not saying it is. I'm
That
saying
would be a sad day for me. I am a SRAM fanboy. In fact, Shramford. I don't know, but SRAM's got their hands in so many other things too.
But that's also what makes your finances spreads too thin,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Again, going back to that Trek model of, well, if we're focused just on the bikes and not all these accessories, maybe that's what we need to weather this storm. Well, I mean, obviously SRAM has acquired a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they just picked up Hammerhead a couple years ago, sort of thing, and
Who gives a shit?
Quark and RockShox and
Yeah.
you name it.
Yeah.
SRAM picked it, and so these were all parts of the bike industry
Yeah.
previously that had to be nimble enough to survive for their individual component. It's not a realistic expectation for a parent company to be on top of every single one of those components and fine-tuning the development of that particular component while maintaining the logistics of the supply chain for it from this factory versus that. Man, that's an overwhelming prospect.
Yeah.
Right there. I mean,
I don't know how OEM specking goes, but I have to think that, when you look at off-the-shelf bikes across the board, obviously there's two major players. There's Shimano and there's SRAM. And SRAM being in bed with RockShox makes them really easy for a company to just like purchase most of their stuff for a bicycle line,
Okay.
And then Shimano, I mean,
but if for SRAM to exist, they need to sell 1,000 units a day to keep those factories going for those forks and those group sets.
yeah.
But they're only doing 500.
Yeah, but don't you think they've all pumped the brakes on production, right? I mean, Shimano may not have, but I would imagine that SRAM has.
Well, but
Kind of waiting for everything to filter out before they keep stacking product. That's got to be a difficult thing to.
Okay, again, going back, so Shimano didn't buy new facilities and they didn't build new factories and stuff. They worked with what they had.
Yeah.
All right. SRAM did up production. They did buy this new tooling. They did buy all these new. So SRAM invested $100 million in all this.
And I wonder how much shit they're warehousing.
And yeah,
I wonder if we'd be flabbergasted.
I think we would. That's my point.
Yeah.
It's not okay. We put the brakes on it now.
Yeah.
But if you've only got one freezer to sell your butchered meat, but you had gone ahead and butchered 5 freezers full because you were turning it over.
Yeah, but you're talking about a perishable product, and I get that.
It is.
That componentry is somewhat.
It is perishable because it's the dollars that are perishing. Oh. So if you're having to store it, and you're having to go out and buy more freezers,
it's costing you money to house it.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah, and that's where it turns into an. I'm not saying SRAM is in that predicament. I'm saying that's answering your question. Well, if they just turn off the switch, it doesn't work that way when demand goes down. So that's essentially what we're up against. And again, that's where everybody has agreed Shimano is not in that position because they have this very, and they were getting slammed by the industry because people were wanting Shimano products and Shimano's like, no, we're not ramping up production. And they were accused of price gouging because they weren't upping production and they were making a false scarcity of their product is what they were accused of. And Shimano says, no, this has been our business model for almost 100 years now, this is the way we do. It's
Yeah.
it's built into our DNA that we don't grow more. I think it's 8% a year is what it was, and that's how you manage a business, because bubbles like this are part of an economic cycle.
Yeah.
And they're always unforecasted. You don't know when they start. You don't know when they end. And so if you just follow the bubble, you're always going to end up getting burnt.
Yeah.
Because at some point, again, it's exponential growth. So at the top of that bubble, you're not overpaying by 5%. You're overpaying by 500% for stuff at that point, and you'll never recoup those losses once the price collapses. Anyway, it's too much negative talk.
Yeah.
Way too much negative talk.
Way too much negative talk. On the same industry news, this is on bicycle retailer and industry news. Colnago's sales growth continued in 2023.
Colnago is an exception to the industry,
Which is interesting, because you don't, in our area, you don't see new Colnago bikes.
So what Colnago has done is they have embraced their poleness, so to speak. They have embraced their customers like Brad that are super loyal.
Yeah.
And are going to follow us to their grave.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're not cutting prices. We're raising prices.
Shit.
And
it's a bold move.
And it's worked for them. But we're super bougie. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. $59.6 million in sales in 2023.
Relatively speaking, I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
To be honest with you. But yeah, Colnago, and that's, if I'm correct, I think I am.
Probably not, but go ahead.
I don't believe Colnago and Campy are arm in arm anymore. I don't believe Colnago bikes are Campy equipped any longer, but I could be mistaken in that.
Well, right below that, the very next quip is Shimano first quarter sales down 20% from last year. I knew I wasn't making that up.
Yeah.
It says Shimano is reporting that its first quarter sales were 100,557 million yen, which is $650 million. I did the math for you. Down 20.2% from the same quarter last year. You're still doing $650 million in sales in a quarter. That's pretty astounding. I'm not surprised, but I didn't.
The industry has not evaporated. It's not zero.
Well, I didn't know what kind of numbers they were doing.
Yeah. So Shimano's last quarter was
just short from like 2.5 billion a year.
Is that how the math works?
If you project that, that's 1 point.
I don't comprehend billions.
1.3. 2.6 billion, yeah.
So
wild.
So that 20% decline is in line with the previous quarter for Shimano, if I remember correctly.
It says from the same quarter last year in the company's bicycle division, sales were down 22.6 to 76,090 million yen. Company-wide ordinary income was up 0.9% from the first quarter of last year. I don't know what all those numbers mean.
But they're forecasting that their annual decline will be, I think, 10 or 11% over the course of this year. But the 20% decline first quarter met their expectations. That's the nuts and the. They said this was going to happen. That's what happened. Shimano also says that they expect their annual decline to be 10 to 11% through 2024. So I think they've proven that their forecasting has been accurate so far. And just because their numbers are down 20%, that doesn't mean that they are hurting as a company. It just means, we didn't sell as much as we did last year. We knew we weren't going to sell as much. I mean, I can say that from a Spinistry perspective. That was part of why we shifted over to the membership model.
Yeah.
I saw the industry was changing. I saw that I'm not saying I read the future of the tea leaves that exactly what we're going through now is what's going to happen. But it became extremely evident to me in fall of 2022 that the bicycle industry was was having issues and it was going to be a long-term thing.
Yeah.
And I adjusted accordingly. It sounds like Shimano adjusted. It doesn't mean it's makes business fantastic. It just means you don't overexpose yourself,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Like you're accusing SRAM of doing.
I'm not saying that's what they did, but
Kevin said, "Shame on you, SRAM."
I did not say that, but I think they are. I think they are more likely to have long-term issues related to this than Shimano is. Is all I'm saying.
I don't think you're wrong. I hope that they're smarter than we both think they are.
I don't think they're dumb. I think that I think they did what they felt was appropriate at the time, and whether they overexposed or not, I'm not saying they did. But Shimano took an extremely conservative approach, and they still have a 20% decline.
Well, I think it was fortuitous. I literally think that, and once again, this is just speculation, but I think that where their factory is located in Malaysia, they had a bigger crackdown on COVID than a lot of places across the way did. And so they were shut down for far longer and weren't allowed to operate.
But
like SRAM was.
But other companies that had similar type of shutdowns invested their dollars in places to circumvent that.
Right.
And Shimano did not.
Shimano just said, no, we're going to ride it out.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that Shimano made the right call. They made their call and they stuck to it.
Yeah.
So they were proactive. A lot of other companies in the bike industry were reactive.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of proactivity. I think when you react to stuff, it's real easy to overreact.
Yeah.
When you're proactive about things, you can say, well, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And as I'm laying it out, it's like, well, you say you're Mr. Contingency guy. So it's like, well, we'll put this over here. If it looks like the wind starts blowing that way, we'll have a plan B. If it looks like it's blowing this way, we'll maybe have a plan C.
Yeah.
And just make minor adjustments in the course along the way. When you try to throw in that full reverse thrust thing, sometimes shit breaks. What's that incredulous look for?
El Paso, Texas. Helen of Troy Q4 net sales increased slightly. I didn't know what Osprey and Hydro Flask parent company.
Oh, okay.
Company Helen of Troy, which I didn't know that was what they're called. I also didn't know they were based out of El Paso.
Well, maybe they weren't. Maybe that's another private equity acquisition.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I'm pretty sure Osprey was just a standalone company.
Yeah, and I thought Osprey was out of Colorado. Forgive me.
Maybe that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
During those C-word years, there were a ton of these sorts of because everything outdoors related was just hot as hell. So a lot of these private equity companies out there just bought up anything they could that was outdoors related. And I'm 99% sure that Osprey was a standalone company
in Colorado.
I think, but I don't remember that specifically.
Colorado Cyclist and Planet Cyclery promote closing sale.
Yep.
It's the beginning of the end, boys.
It's always darkest before the light,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I'm saying I think we're going to have some really nasty headlines and gnashing of teeth in the coming months. But the reality is the damage is already done. The companies that are in position to not survive this already know that. Companies that may be positioned to survive it may still be very concerned, but I think we're at the point. Anybody that isn't at the point now of being broken and out of business is going to be able to weather the storm. Now, but we don't know who those companies are. There's plenty of companies that are basically already done that haven't told us that yet. There's going to be a bunch of those that come.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like we were telling the future without telling the future just a minute ago. Dick's Sporting Goods reports record fourth quarter sales, up 5% over 2022. And then write down from that. Giant agrees to sell kids and mountain bikes at Dick's owned specialty stores. So that's, to me, that screams Giant's looking for more market penetration. And if they're going into that kind of market, they're going to be selling more entry-level bikes.
Possibly.
Which I feel like, I wonder where the biggest profit margins are across the cycling board for them.
Well,
I mean, because do they make more percentage-wise on a $15,000 high-end road bike, e-bike, or do they make more profit margin on like a $400 kid's 26-inch bike?
there's two very different dynamics there. Their margin is important, but margin without volume doesn't accomplish much.
Yes.
So the reality is a $15,000 bike has a huge margin in it.
Yeah.
But if you're only selling 6 of those a month,
Yeah.
that doesn't do a lot for the cash flow itself.
That makes sense.
A $600 bike may not have very much margin in it,
Yeah.
but if you're selling 1,000 of those a day, that way overcomes. Now, that said, that's where the big collapse really was for a lot of the cycling industry, in that it's the entry-level bikes that are filling up warehouses, is my understanding.
Yeah.
That there is literally 20 years worth of inventory at current numbers for entry-level bikes. Across the board, that's not just, that's everybody. Whether it was perceived that everybody wanted entry-level bikes, or that was just the easiest to ramp up and throw whatever components were available during that's my guess, is if we do entry-level bikes, we can find something from Shimano and something from SRAM and something from Microshift and put a bike together and send it out, sort of thing. Whereas when you get to higher level stuff, the consumers are going to be more discerning about the component mix and things like that.
Yeah.
A Dick's Sporting Goods customer doesn't care what the component group is. They like the color of the bike and how the tires look.
Yeah.
Basically speaking. It will be interesting to see where this goes. This is going to be a shift. And that's been part of why Lifetime's going the direction it is with this Lifetime Grand Prix. That is a huge dollar commitment on their end. And just the higher level events in general in the cycling industry, there is not going to be any cycling industry money to support events like that for a number of years.
Yeah.
None of these bicycle industry companies are going to have any interest in throwing event sponsorship money at anything for quite a while.
Yeah.
That's not going to it's not going to be a positive return. There's no way it can be.
You don't think Salsa's going to show up at their Chase Lounge next year at Land Run?
I'm not saying they
it's not Land Run anymore. What the fuck are we calling it now?
It's Mid-South.
Mid-South.
Sure, Salsa will be more than happy to put the Chase Lounge out there, but they're not going to spend $50,000 to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not implying that they ever did. But
it sounded like what you were implying.
It's not at all. What I'm saying, the bicycle industry as a whole has been notorious for being no cash, almost no cash being available for sponsorships to begin. It's always been product exchange or whatever. All right, well, how about if we do this and that? There's been a lot of soft dollar exchange is traditionally the way that cycling. Even sponsored riders, unless you're at the very, very highest tier of being a sponsored rider, you don't get a bike if you have a bike as your sponsor. You get it at cost, sort of thing. So it's the cycling industry is notorious for sponsorship dollars not being available traditionally, let alone now.
Yeah.
And that's all I've been saying is any of these higher end events that have been relying on sponsorship dollars to be able to put on these events, they're not going to get it from the cycling industry for any time in the foreseeable future. So they're going to have to go outside the cycling industry. That will be interesting to see how that works.
Well, it seems like the influx of sponsorship dollars and big campaigns like that is cyclical. You know, at back in, call it the 90s, there was big money in cycling.
Right.
People were, I mean, when
Coors.
Yeah, when Missy Giove was racing for Trek, and Trek was partnered up with, who were they? I can't remember. Maybe it was Subaru. I can't remember. But all of these teams had like major corporate sponsorships too.
Right.
You know, and you had high level pros that were, you know, touted as like almost superstars. You know, they were like icons. And there was big money. I mean, these events were huge back then.
Sure.
And then it just fell off the face of the earth, you know? And then it looked like it was kind of growing back to be kind of that level almost again. You know, I mean, the Tour de France is always going to be the Tour de France. But you just look at the way their sponsorships have changed over the past decade too, you know?
Yeah.
And you can see the change coming. So, but I don't think we'll ever be back at the level we were in the mid 90s where, you know, hell, Ralph Lauren had a racing team, you know, Polo. I mean, this is all kinds of weird alliances.
That said, but that's the direction. It's going to have to go that direction for the sponsorships, when non-cycling related sponsorships. There is no choice in the matter now. There is.
Well, I mean, who's flush with cash right now that could benefit from the exposure of cycling?
Again, we're back to the niche upon the niche upon the niche.
Yeah,
so
right.
it's gonna be things like health insurance companies. I mean, like Mazda's part of the Lifetime Grand Prix sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that kind of what you're touching on there, and that is what Lifetime's doing now. That is contributing to the potential for that outside the industry growth and sponsorship dollars. Lifetime is doing a good job of creating those personalities and those recognized athletes.
Yeah.
That these are the superhumans. These are the superstars.
Yeah.
They're not quite there yet, but they're going the route of develop. And I think the personality aspect of it is a fundamental piece.
It's a lot to hang your hat on, though, with people getting themselves canceled over stupid shit, you know? Like, what if you just put all your chips on X person and then all of a sudden they do something stupid or say something stupid, and the whole campaign crumbles?
Okay. And again, I think I could be mistaken, but that's why I think it's not at the athlete. The sponsorship, major dollar sponsorship at the athlete level is a down the road thing.
Yeah.
The major dollar sponsorship at the event level will make that, and then I do it.
You do it.
It'll trickle down from there. It'll be the champagne fountain down from there.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. It'll trickle down to the individual athletes, and some of it will trickle up from some of the athletes, but the dollars involved will take place at the event or series level first, but a lot of the existing events and the current group of events were very let's say Salsa, just because it's a brand we've used before. Let's say Salsa did have $50,000 of advertising money to support one event each year. If that event got used to using Salsa money for 3 or 4 years and Salsa no longer has that money, it's very likely those event coordinators have no idea how to find anybody else that can come up with 50,000. They have connections in the cycling industry. They don't have connection in the healthcare industry or the automobile industry or the paper industry. I mean, how many of these sponsorships for the past 5 years have been reliant on CDB and stuff like that?
CDB,
or is it CBD? What
CBD?
I'm sorry.
I was like, what is he talking about?
UDH, UHD, whatever it is.
It's everybody knows it's UDH, Kevin. I've only said it wrong like every time.
But lots of individual racers have also leaned on, sketch isn't the right word, but smaller sized companies that are willing, hey, we'll give you $2,000 a month to put our name on your jersey and talk about us on Instagram, sort of thing. A lot of that's disappearing too. And going back to kind of the cancel culture part you touched on, it's very easy for one person to misspeak and a brand have to wash its hands of them. And I'm not speaking ill of Colin here by any stretch of the imagination, but just, even stuff that, technically speaking, maybe you didn't even directly do yourself.
Yeah.
If you're very reliant on those sponsorships like that, it gets difficult. There's no doubt about that.
I think it's definitely going to look completely different 5 years from now.
It's going to be we have no idea what it's going to look like 5 years from now. I do have hope in that. God, man, I hate to give Lifetime credit for it, but what they're developing in the talent pool for that Lifetime Grand Prix series.
Yeah.
I think again, back to the personalities being involved, I think that's a tangible thing that's going to be beneficial for the cycling industry long term.
Yeah.
Now, whether it stays...
I wonder how calculated that was. Like, did they sit down with a master plan, or are they just kind of firing from the hip and running and gunning and playing?
Here we go with the C word again. I think COVID, if they had a master plan, COVID turned everything upside down. It did for everybody.
Yeah.
So everybody had to shift on the fly, sort of thing. I mean, don't forget. I mean, I didn't think the Lifetime series was going to survive the first 2 years of COVID because Lifetime was basically out of business.
Yeah.
They weren't. Their gyms were shut down.
Yeah.
So, for them to still be chugging along, that in and of itself is a success story.
Yeah.
Right there. What the pieces they have in place to support that success, I have no clue on it. And I'm not saying that the Lifetime series is the salvation of the cycling industry, but I do think it is something the entire cycling industry can utilize to help bring itself up from the bottom. And I think the personality aspect that the Lifetime series is helping to create, we're not there yet, but what I think it's helping to create, I think it can be a fundamental shift in the industry. And what I lean on to support that is, back in my NASCAR fanboy days, that's what made the most successful era of NASCAR so successful. It was the personalities involved.
Yeah.
And it was the cars involved.
All the corporate sponsorship.
That's what started bringing in the tertiary. Yeah. It wasn't STP.
It was Wonder Bread.
It was Wonder Bread. It was M&M's.
Yeah.
It was Tide.
Yeah.
So by getting those personalities involved...
It's so weird looking back on that, But
realistically, I think that NASCAR-ish model is a good fit for the cycling industry, because 1970s and early 80s NASCAR was about as niche as any sort of sport could possibly be.
Yeah.
And they turned it into a national powerhouse, rivaling the NFL for about 15 years there.
And now it's just
And now
all
it's-
but dead.
And
I mean, they're still diehard NASCAR fans.
it's nothing like it was.
Show me your butthole.
But here's, in my opinion, here's where NASCAR, here was the impetus for the decline of NASCAR. They toned down the emphasis on the personalities because they didn't want to pay the personalities as much. It's like, we can bring in anybody that can really drive this car as well as Ricky Bobby.
I'll tell you the downfall of NASCAR. And they started letting fucking women drive.
Oh
NASCARs.
my God. You're doing your best to get us canceled, aren't you?
I'm kidding. I'm
Please make that clear. I know you're kidding.
I'm totally kidding. It's the funny thing to say.
Yeah.
But what's her face? I can't remember her name.
Danica Patrick.
Yeah. That was that was the blip on the radar for me. Not even a NASCAR fan. Like, oh shit, there's women driving NASCAR now.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I'm like, wait, that means there hasn't been women driving before. You know, it was interesting to me because you've had women driving dragsters for years. I can't remember her name either.
Shirley Muldowney.
And so I think one of the only NASCAR races I've ever been to, Danica Patrick was driving. And I'm sure everybody that goes to NASCAR knows this, but I rented some headsets and so you could listen into their car. I was like, this is the coolest shit ever. It was pretty cool.
It was cool.
So, but
I mean, going back, so the personality, see, that's the power of the personality there.
Yep.
That caught your attention.
Yeah.
But NASCAR started de-emphasizing that, or I should say the car owners started de-emphasizing it, because the personalities knew that they were integral and the prices for the talent were going up.
Yeah, but what happened first? I feel like the sponsorship weren't seeing the returns on their investment, and so they were starting to back away.
Okay.
And so the money fell off.
Okay, I mean, it's an Ouroboros. You know, it's the snake eating its tail.
Yeah.
To bring things full circle, so to speak. But the other piece, here's what I think was super important. And at the time, I agreed with it completely. But looking back on it, I think it was part of. It's not the downfall. It's not the demise of NASCAR, but it's definitely not the sport it was.
Yeah.
When they. Granted, it's been decades since you could call stock cars.
Mm-hmm.
But in the late, I guess around 2010 or so, they started changing over to what's called the car of tomorrow, which it's even though it says Chevy on it or Toyota or Ford,
it's all the same shit.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
There's just a sticker on it to differentiate them. So there was no tie-in whatsoever outside of stickers that look like the headlights of a Camaro.
Yeah.
That this is the same car you can go to the showroom on. There's no pride of unity there of I'm a Chevy guy, I've got a Chevy in my garage sort of thing. And I think those are both aspects that the cycling industry is actually in a position to take advantage of. If you can grow the awareness of the personalities, and if you can, I've got a Colnago. Oh yeah, I've got a Canyon. Oh yeah, I've got a Trek. I've got a Salsa, or whatever else. And that's what whoever is writing. Now, something you touched on there, and it is, and I don't know how to do it, and maybe I'll figure it out. I don't think I will. I like the idea of the women and the men being in the same field. I like we talked about with the Red River Riot. I like it when Lauren Stevens wins the Red River Riot.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome.
And I recognize at the highest levels, and hopefully this doesn't get me canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it doesn't come across as sexist. At the highest level, the highest level woman is never going to be as strong as the highest level man on a bicycle.
No.
Might get me canceled, but
mountain biking or road biking.
Prove me wrong, and I will acquiesce gladly.
I think there's a case to be made that the closest competition is in gravel racing. Mountain biking, I think pound for pound, a man's going to win every time. And then road biking, I think power to weight ratio, men are going to win every time.
And that men, and I'm not. I mean, obviously, you can't do it at the grassroots industry level, but maybe somewhere along the way, maybe you do it on segmenting by watts per kilogram or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it is gender neutral participation. Yeah. It is gender neutral racing. These are the 200 watts per kilogram group. Go out there and that almost like boxing and the welterweight, flyweight, bantamweight, whatever all those are. There might only be a 2 pound difference or whatever it is, but
well, that whole thing's so fudgy anyway.
Well, it is. I mean, it's
because they freaking purge and starve themselves and everything else to come in a weight
at the high level theoretical basis.
Yeah, I get you. I'm sorry.
There you go, just screwing up my.
Speaking of, before we get too far from NASCAR, I'd like to recommend a great documentary if you haven't seen it.
Okay.
Talladega Nights is probably the best.
I already threw Ricky Bobby out there, and you threw Wonder Bread into the mix.
What a great movie.
Supposedly. So you know how they remade Top Gun?
Mm-hmm. Which I thought was way better than I expected. I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah. I sat next to Caleb accidentally and watched it, and we were of the same opinion. Our wives enjoyed it very much.
Yeah. I mean, I thought they did a great job on it. But it was, all I said was it was way better than I anticipated.
I understand what you said.
I didn't expect shit from it.
I understand what you said.
Yeah.
And maybe it was better than I expected, which would have been a very low bar to achieve. So.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Supposedly they're doing the same thing with Days of Thunder.
Not interested. I didn't enjoy Days of Thunder.
I understand that.
I'm not a NASCAR guy either.
Well, okay, but
nor gay porn. They're about the same.
But you know so much about it. You've done so much research.
No.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Come on.
I really haven't.
But along those lines, there can definitely be an argument made that Days of Thunder of itself was a big boost to the popularity of NASCAR as well. I'm not saying it made or broke it. I mean, NASCAR was obviously already on an upward trend, or they would have made the
Days
movie.
of Thunder was just Top Gun with cars, right?
Okay.
I mean, wasn't it?
Essentially, but I mean, okay. And Top Gun Maverick was just Top Gun, just made 30 years later or whatever it was.
Yeah.
With the ending of Star Wars.
How so?
The whole thing about getting the missiles into
stay on target.
Exactly. It was exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I get you.
But anyway, man, I was about to go somewhere.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
Days of Thunder getting remade.
Yeah, well, I mean, Days of Thunder boosting NASCAR. What was the Lance Dave Weems movie about Leadville?
I don't know.
I thought you went with us to see that. We did that as a Dirt Dogs group. It was
thanks for the invite.
Chasing the Sun or Ride the Sun, but basically it was a movie about Leadville, and when Lance did the Leadville race, and that took Leadville to that next level, which is
a lifetime event now.
Boom.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying. That's where that domino effect can happen.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, I don't think the Lifetime video series accomplishes it, but if there is a popular culture boost to cycling, if something in the mix along the way comes along, and I think creating these personalities helps in the likelihood of something like that. Lance was a cycling personality that the general population was familiar with. That definitely aided in a cycling boom of the early 2000s and,
Yeah.
and so forth. The personalities themselves are what drive.
But it was the survivor story, the cancer foundation,
But those were all tangential pieces that came together over time. It's like modern day politics. This is my topic that hits a note with me that's going to drive me this direction.
Yeah.
Versus, well, what about all the other stuff that's going on with that person? I don't care because this is what's important to me, and they're on the same side as me for this. So this is where I'm going, sort of thing.
But that was the first time that Americans in general had become enthralled with road racing, because now all of a sudden we had this national hero. I mean, even Le Mans didn't get the acknowledgement
not to the level that Lance did, but
but the media was different too.
I think Le Mans was pretty big.
Yeah.
And I think knowing where Le Mans went, it was a combination of, okay, this athlete got to this level.
Yeah.
Now we know how to take that even higher. And this is the athletes themselves that are saying, oh, I know what I need to do to take it higher.
Yeah.
But it is also the teams and the sponsorships. And okay, well, we kind of fizzled out here, but if we did this, and so they learn from that. That's all a progression. Everybody learns, not necessarily from mistakes, but, oh, we could have done that better.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And I think however it all came together, whether it was his doing or the people around him, whoever was driving Lance to make the calls that he did and do the things he did in the sequence.
Are you talking about drugs?
The whole package.
Okay.
The whole package. I'm not making any accounsations or anything like that.
I don't think they're accusations at this point.
I'm saying I'm not throwing shade. I'm saying that was the full package to take things to those sky-high levels in popularity.
And the same thing happened with Tiger Woods just years later, where Tiger Woods brought all this revitalized focus to PGA.
Well, but who did that with pickleball? We don't have a pickleball superstar, do we?
Who gives a fuck about pickleball?
Evidently, everybody gives a fuck about pickleball. Is the biggest thing in the United States at the moment, and I don't understand why.
To quote the great Tracy Bowen, it's a fad.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
What's interesting to me is pickleball's been around since like the 60s.
Sure.
And 4 years ago, you could have went up to 100 people and asked them if they knew what pickleball was, and you might have found 2 fucking people that knew what pickleball was. And I don't know what the campaign is or what's going on that pickleball is all of a sudden. I mean, have you been to the Chicken Pickle or whatever it is in Grapevine?
No.
It is a monstrous property, and it's dedicated to fried chicken and pickleball.
Okay.
And to me, the first thing I thought when we went there, because it's literally probably 4 acres, not counting parking.
I didn't even know it existed. Where is this?
It's in Grapevine.
What? I go to Grapevine 3 times a week. I've never seen it, so I don't. Where is it? Where is it in Grapevine?
I would have to look it up. It's over off of Mustang, I think.
Okay.
But my thought when we went there, because I went to just check it out.
Sure.
Gage and I went there. We didn't go to play pickleball, by the way. Was what are they going to do with this entire property when pickleball just falls off the face of the earth? And then I looked, and there's like 14 locations. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Is this a real estate grab or what? Like,
no, that again, this is how those private equity firms work. But
wait till you go.
I'm not going to go.
But you need to.
No, I don't.
Just so you can go, who thinks this is a good idea?
It doesn't matter. Again, we're back to the basics of corporate governance is all about what can we do next between now and next quarter. It has nothing to do what's a year down the road, 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road.
I think Lifetime's thinking like that. I think they're looking at the big picture. I don't think they'd be as successful as they are with their campaign if they weren't looking. I think they're very strategic in what they're doing.
They very well could be.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know.
Or maybe they're just lucking out and it appears that way.
Or okay, but and again, this is not casting shade at Lifetime by any stretch of the imagination. But hypothetically, what if Lifetime is doing the same thing this pickleball and chicken place is doing?
Just biding time? What do you
No,
mean?
just we're throwing money at it now, and we don't care if it works out in the long run, sort of thing.
Yeah, I can't. I hadn't thought about it in a while, but now that it's almost disturbing to me to think about that pickleball place, because it's like it's such a substantial investment, and it just seems like a flash in the pan.
What if they're not? What if they're around 50 years from now and prove you wrong?
Then I'd say good on them.
No, I understand.
But
I understand.
My immediate thought was, and still is, like, 5 years from now, nobody's going to give a shit about this place. You know, I mean, is pickleball going to maintain this meteor?
But, so we're back to, and if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong with this. And again, I'm not throwing shade at Lifetime.
Yeah.
I am not smart enough to understand how their business model works. But from my surface level interpretation, I can't recognize how Lifetime gets a positive return on their investment in the Lifetime Grand Prix. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. I agree totally.
And they very well may be. I'm not saying they aren't. It is just, spitball note sheet math. I don't see how they get their money back on it, but they very well could, and I hope they do. I'm not wishing failure on them by any stretch of the imagination. Back to the Valley of Tears event. I know good and darn well there's no way at the event level that they got their investment back on that, but I don't know what their big picture is.
Yeah.
By any stretch of the imagination. But the more I learn about that, the more the pieces come together, and I understand more of the hows and the whys. I still don't understand what the long-term goal is, and it's not for me to understand that. I'm not involved with the event or the organizations involved.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Just like you're saying, at first blush, your knee-jerk reaction is, this doesn't make sense financially.
It still doesn't.
No, I understand. And neither does Valley of Tears, and neither does the Lifetime Grand Prix. I don't think they're as ridiculous as your pickleball environment that you're laying out. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. But that's obviously taking advantage of just a general cultural popularity. It's like just like Pet Rocks when that was probably before your time, wasn't it?
No, I remember Pet Rocks.
You remember Pet
Yeah.
Rocks? Okay.
Brilliant business model.
It was a brilliant business model
And then Hermit Crabs.
for the first person
Yeah.
that came out with the Pet Rock company.
But it was easily duplicable.
Easily duplicated, and all those companies that came after that thought they were going to make a killing on Pet Rocks and had to invest and buy $5,000 worth of cardboard boxes and bring in a truckload of rocks and hire some day labor to paint eyes on them and so forth.
Yeah.
They still laid out their $250,000 to put together their first batch of rocks that they only sold $100,000 worth and lost $150,000.
Yeah.
That's the way those things almost always work. And somehow or another,
We're almost done talking. and
Jeebus.
We haven't even talked about e-bikes yet.
Well, you kind of did.
Go ride your bike.
You kind of did.
Let's just tell people to go ride their bike.
Go ride your bike.
Yeah, fuck pickleball.